Hi, Hannah here at Black Country Radio, just about to interview Pete Durnell, the UKIP candidate-elect for the mayoral elections. And here we go. So Hannah here interviewing Pete. Do you want to introduce yourself, Pete?
Yeah, my name's Pete Durnell and I'm UKIP's candidate for the election, for the mayoral election coming up on May 4th.
Okay, we're just going to ask him a few questions about that. So first of all, Pete, tell us about your background and why you've gone into politics.
Right, my background's actually in IT. I had a long time in IT and worked for a variety of quite big companies doing management, consultancy, so I'm pretty into project planning and problem solving, which I think might come in quite handy with the problems we're going to have to solve in this area. Yeah. So yeah, do you want to go into where I live? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've lived in the West Midlands. Well, certainly depending on how you define it. I was actually born in Bromsgrove. I went to school in Kidderminster, grew up Stourport, Kidderminster, but the last 30 years I've lived in Albury, essentially. So. Okay,
and why did you go into politics?
It's been a long-term interest. I've always had a really big interest in it. So came a point in my life where I was financially sound for a little while.
Okay.
And, so I've actually had to delay rejoining the workforce, so to speak, for this, because you simply cannot do this campaigning and have a proper job.
Right, okay.
So essentially I've taken a long break from to actually campaign for mayor. So yeah.
Okay. And I know you just mentioned obviously you're originally from the West Midlands. What would you say your connection was with the West Midlands?
I love the Black Country. I've lived in it for 30 years. I actually went to college in Coventry. So Coventry Polytechnic as it was all those years ago, university for a long time now. Actually went back there a few days ago, which was really great. And so I've got connections with that. I've worked in Birmingham for a fair bit of time. So sort of all the way across the region really.
Okay.
A lot of people around Dudley and Wolverhampton, and so yeah, just a really big connection with the region generally.
Okay. And what is your favourite local culinary delicacy?
I'm a bit boring. I normally tend to have chicken and mushroom balti with a nice naan bread.
Fair enough. Can't go wrong.
You can't, can you?
And so how will you ensure the youth issues are fairly represented?
Right. My big thing about being mayor is UKIP calls itself the People's Army, or likes to think of itself as that. I would like to be the People's Mayor, which means that I want to engage on a really regular basis, every possible way that we can do it, whether that's internet or face-to-face in surgeries, engage with all different groups, universities, student groups, essentially make sure that everyone's got an opportunity to put their voice forward and I'll listen to it. So yeah, definitely want to engage with everyone from pensioners down to young people.
Okay. So with our local authorities struggling to keep up with the financial demand of social care, does that mean that youth services will see further cuts?
Not if I can help it. Bluntly, I know that there's been a lot of pressure on authority budgets, we all know that. My attitude, to be honest, is certainly in Sandwell we have, and I think also in Dudley, we have 3 councillors per ward. And that's really historical, reasons for that, when there wasn't an internet, mobile phones probably even. So I'd like to see that cut down to 2 for a start. So I think there's a lot of savings that could be made before we start cutting back services still. Essentially, within the council itself, a lot of money could be saved. And I definitely think that youth services have massively been cut back too far already. A lot of young people, we're losing. The thing that really upsets me is people kind of want to get an education so they can leave this area, and that's the one thing that I'd like to change. We need to have a lot more facilities, a lot more reasons to stay here.
Okay, so just following up on that, how would you go about protecting that?
Well, as I say, really, just by saving money in other ways. I know the other thing that's going to happen is I know there's going to be more cuts trying to be imposed, I should say, by the government. So one of the big roles of the mayor, I think, is first of all to go out and get investment, yes, for all the things we want to do, but also to stand up and stand up for this region. So we've been at the front of cuts for too long and at the bottom of the funding pile or the funding priorities. So it's about time that changed. Okay. I think that's one of the big things the mayor can do is have the ear of the Prime Minister and say, look, it's just not right, basically.
Yeah.
We're taking the brunt all the time and it needs to stop.
Okay, brilliant. Do you feel that young people are educated enough in politics in regards to what or who they really are voting for?
To be honest with you, I think probably all age groups could potentially get a bit more involved. I think there has been a big switch off in terms of it doesn't really matter who you vote for. They're all the same, if you know what I mean, is the kind of perception that people have. And I really understand why that is, because probably from the Blair to Cameron years, nothing really much changed. You've gone from a huge, supposedly, from one kind of government to another, but they pretty much did the same things. So yeah, I do think absolutely that young people, because obviously it's their future. Politics might be a little bit boring, but it's really important. So I would very much like to see young people get more involved.
Okay, so in that case, would you support teaching politics to some degree in West Midlands schools? And what makes us different to other parts of the UK?
My view on teaching is, I really want people to understand. I do believe that it should be something that the schools get involved with a lot more, but I personally would like to see, if you like, local politicians being involved in it rather than just a teacher teaching it, because inevitably they're going to potentially put a little bit of a slant for their own views on it. So yeah, I would like to see it, actually in the classroom, but I'd like to see people being, an organised thing with a teacher obviously in charge, but essentially, let's get local politicians in there and put their actual views. And I think that'd be brilliant, because I've heard things from children or young people that are just bizarre, and they have come from the classroom one way or another. So I'd like to see real information in there.
Okay.
Was the second part?
Yeah, sorry, the second question. What makes us different to other parts of the UK, would you say, in the West Midlands?
There's a few different reasons. We are in a prime location geographically. We're right in the middle of the country, and that's got a lot of advantages. But I think one of the big differences is we make things. Our GDP for this region is very much based about twice as much, like 15 or 16% is actually making things, which if you look at most of the others, it's more like 7 or 8%. So we still actually make real things and produce goods, and I think that's a bit of a difference.
Okay, so places like Birmingham used to be called the workshop of the world, city of a thousand trades, but trade is changing and so are the jobs that we young people are already struggling to get. What do you plan to do to make sure there are enough high value jobs to keep us in the region?
Sure. Talked to a lot of people recently, and I think we do have a really good innovation base in terms of, we come up with great ideas and small companies who, investing in those ideas and trying to take them forward. I think what we don't do quite so well is actually get them to the stage of being a business and then growing a business. So I'd like to really focus on that innovation and development kind of aspect. We've got some brilliant universities, we've got a lot of good groups that are already formed together, and let's really focus on these ideas, and rather than letting either die or be taken over by somebody else, let's make sure we focus on them, we develop them, and I think the combined authority and the mayor can actually work really well in that respect.
Okay, great. So, good or bad, how do you think Brexit is going to affect young people living in the West Midlands, and how are you going to maximise on opportunities? And if you can, please avoid the cliches.
Okay. You won't be surprised to learn I'm passionate about Brexit, and it's not for my benefit, actually for the benefit of young people that I am passionate about it. So, the cliches, the world of opportunities, we all know, essentially, I do really think that I've spoken to quite a lot of business people, and they're saying that, there's some uncertainty about the process, but what they also say is it's made them think differently, because there are different opportunities potentially with a lot of different countries, and I really do think that once we get past the uncertainty and actually we leave and we know where we are and what we're doing, that we will be a lot better off. Otherwise, I would never have campaigned like I have done very hard to leave, because I passionately believe that is, we will be better.
Okay, so it's no secret that a lot of young people are disenfranchised with politics. Do you blame them?
It kind of goes back a little bit to what I said before. I don't blame them, because the impression that they're all the same, whatever you do, whoever you vote for, nothing changes. I really think that has been the case, so why wouldn't you think that it's going to carry on being the case? But I'm not a career politician, as you can gather by any shadow of means. I got into it because I believe that there's not enough honesty in politics. People promise things that they can't deliver all the time, and that's a real big turn-off. So one of the main pledges, or one of the main strands of my campaigning is I'm saying, look, these things that I'm promising are realistic and achievable. I'm not saying I'm going to have £1 billion investment fund, which one or two of the candidates are promising. I'm saying, look, this is what, we are in tough times, but we can do things, we can make things better, but in a realistic way. And I'm not sort of promising the moon and the earth, and because otherwise people will inevitably be disenfranchised when you can't deliver it. So definitely want to keep them reasonable, keep them achievable, and actually do them.
Okay. So next we're going to ask you 3 questions we've gathered from our social media campaign.
Okay.
So the first one is that obviously you are a leaver, but what do you say to young people who voted to remain in Brexit, and how do you balance the conversation to normal politics?
What's that last bit, sorry?
How do you balance the conversation to normal politics?
Okay. What I say to young people who voted to Remain is essentially, I guess, what I'd say to anybody who voted to Remain. You know, I respect your point of view, but you know, it's essentially I did it. You know, I could probably, because I own my own house, I could sell up and move abroad if I wanted to. I don't do that. I'm here because I'm passionate about the future of this country, and so I would say is look, let people, you know, the people who believe in it, let them take it forward. Let's all get on board and try and say let's make it work, because I really believe it can work. So rather than saying, oh, I wish we'd remained, and you know, if basically let's just make the best of the opportunities and not just keep trying to look at the negative side all the time, which unfortunately our media tends to do quite a lot. So you know, just believe and just, you know, go for it, basically.
Okay. Next question, which I think we're all dying to know, is have you ever had a pint with Nigel Farage?
I haven't actually had a pint with Nigel Farage, no, I'll be honest. I've been around pints next to in the region. I haven't actually chatted in person and drunk pints with him, no, but it's never too late.
One day, maybe.
Even though he's not obviously any longer the party leader, he's still quite heavily involved, as everyone knows, so definitely hope to do that.
Of course. And finally, well, sorry, no, not finally, do you think other countries will now leave the EU?
That's a really good question. I obviously don't know. Do I think they will? Probably not in the short term. I think there will be anti-establishment votes which will be sort of like influencing the governments of different countries. Do I think that the French election will go with Marine Le Pen? Do I think she'll actually get past the first round? She's going to struggle because the others will coalesce against her. So, in honesty, probably not, but I do think the European Union is under a lot of pressure, because I've always thought it was 500 years ahead of its time. You know, it's trying to put all groups of people together, different countries with different cultures, and you know, the Dutch like being Dutch and the Germans like being Germans. They don't want to be like a homogeneous melting pot. So I do think, and for all sorts of other reasons, I do think it will at some point, unfortunately, crumble and fall to pieces, which I always like that to be an orderly process, because it's never great if things just, you know, disappear in a rapid way. So I would like to see an orderly, if you like, dismantling of it at some point, but I don't think it's quite around the corner just yet.
Right, okay. And then, sorry, finally, why should we vote for you as mayor?
I'd say the biggest reason, or well, hopefully there's a lot of reasons, but I really want to be open and honest. I hope it comes across that I'm passionate about this region and the people of this region. The combined authority currently as it exists is quite, well, it's self-scrutinising essentially. You have a lot of councillors who are supposedly scrutinising their council leaders, which I think is one of the things which really needs to be addressed and changed. You know, it's a little bit secretive to say the least. If you walk down the street, a lot of people still don't even know it exists. Still less what it does and how it does it. So I really want to open that all up. Get all different kinds of groups, from unions to universities, young people, old people, pensioners groups, all different kind of people involved. Let's open it up, let's make it work for the people, but also let's not let it get, as I've said in one or two of the debates, let's not let it get sort of overly bureaucratic, because there is a lot of rigidity in there and local authority thinking, as people have told me. So, you know, I want it to be sort of light on its feet, adaptable, and not too expensive and bureaucratic, and that's what I would make sure that it was, as far as I possibly could, if I can.
So that was Pete Durnell, UKIP elect candidate for the mayoral elections. If you've got any thoughts or feelings about what's been said, you can tweet us, #WMElect17, or you can go on our website, www.civify.org.